So basically it's, I started with a very standard Ernest Rossi format, which is look at your hands as if you've never seen them before or you haven't looked at them in a very long time. This narrows attention, right? It encourages a kind of wonder state. What I think Ernest Rossi calls numism, that kind of wonder. And he says that it's that curiosity, that sense of wonder that will turn on or turn off gene expression. It's kind of interesting. So once I said that, I said maybe one hand feels heavier or warmer or different than the other. Then I said, which hand is going to represent the issue? She found it. I said, imagine that whole issue going into that hand. Then I said, close your eyes and allow your unconscious to go through a whole review. Reviewing the history, origins, implications of this whole issue and anything you need to learn from it. And as that happens, that hand will move on its own. And then I just said, allow that to happen. Notice whatever you notice. Paying attention to any thoughts that flow through your mind. Then we saw some interesting movement, and I realized it's because I said that hand will move on its own. And I didn't say move down on its own. And I sometimes like that because it's more organic, whatever they're going to do. And it was good because she did some movements that were really, unconscious movements. At a certain point, it was very rhythmic and trancey. It was like there was, Balinese trance dancing. There was movement, there was this type of thing. So I was really glad that I said that. As that was happening, now Ernest Rossi, he would say that hand moves on its own or moves down on its own. He's going to sit there and he's going to wait. He's going to wait for that hand to move down on its own. And then he's going to say, now let's focus on this other hand. And, maybe he'll say the lessons learned, or maybe he'll say the resources, or just allow your unconscious to review creative ideas and solutions. And that hand will move down on its own. And so he waits. For me, knowing what I know about the meta pattern, and that ultimately, remember what we were saying yesterday, we are either pumping up a resource or shrinking the problem, because ultimately change happens in the collapse. So what I will typically do is, once we've got good movement happening, and it's been a while and there seems to be some type of settling a little bit with this hand. Like there was a lot of movement and then I believe it kind of settled. That's when I said, bring your attention now to the other hand. Because while both are activated, I want to have both. I'm going for an unconscious collapse. So this is a little different than Ernest Rossi's, but I'm going to start this one going, let's explore the strengths and resources, how having had this issue has given you more than you think in order to deal with this. And then both of them. And that's when we started to get the interesting movement, right? It was really interesting. And all I'm doing is basically supporting her. When I see some big movement, I'm going to say, that's right. Noticing what you're noticing, letting it happen. I might have said, keeping whatever you need to keep and letting go of whatever, something like that. But basically, I could just sit there and say nothing. This is a whole internal processing thing. If I were, in my office, maybe I wouldn't have said anything. I would have just said, letting it process. So then at a certain point, when her nonverbal showed me she was smiling, there was a different shift in breathing, that's when I said, and when you're ready for an integration of learning, or I don't know what I said, something like that, then those hands will move down on their own. because I was looking for how do I close this up? How do I finish this? Got it? Now sometimes I've done this, bless you, right? So if it's some pain, right? I'm going to say put all of that pain into this hand. You can explore anything you need to explore because it dissociates from the discomfort, but you can explore anything you need to explore, the history of it, implications of it, anything you need. And now, what's the opposite of pain, right? Now let's explore comfort and all the different ways you can explore comfort. That's another way to do this. There's so many different ways, right? When you think about it. Now, I typically will teach in my classes the visual squash, where you're doing a parts integration. This is a little different. This is a lot more open-ended. It's really about the third level of work that I hit pretty hard, which is meaning, which is unconscious processing and meaning. So you're going to get together. Don't talk about what it is. I don't know what she was working through. This way it keeps you out of it, right? As soon as you think you know, you might start, adding things that you assume might be relevant, but you never know. So, keep it clean. Just say you have something you'd like to explore, an issue you've been working on. You're going to get together, oh yeah, I do this. Why? Because it lends itself to noticing more subtle changes, right? Because you've got that weird energetic thing going on where one hand feels tingly or different. I don't necessarily think he does that, but as I said earlier about memory, I don't even know anymore what's his, what's not. I could be saying all this is Ernest Rossi, and maybe it's not. He did co-write the book with someone else. Yeah. So we call it magic hands, right? But it's actually mirroring hands. I always called it magic hands. Jazz hands. Yeah, once they've said which hand is the hand that represents the issue, then I say now close your eyes and allow your unconscious to go through a whole review. That's really it. You're looking at a review, the history, the origins, the lessons you can learn. And as that happens, that hand will move all on its own. This is a nice little convincer for people. And it allows for some profound shifts. You're just creating a space and holding it for them. Once that starts to happen, now focusing on this other hand as your unconscious reviews the strengths, the resources, creative ideas. And that hand will move on its own. Got it? That's all you got to do.